Hey, I'm Billy Stokes. This is my journey of building our business, but without compromising the relationships with people I love. Follow along while I document my growth. This is all BS. So I think this will be my last one for tonight. It is currently midnight, and as you can tell by the bloodshot eyes, bloody hell. It's midnight. My son is more than likely going to be waking multiple times tonight. Yeah, and I expect there to be a good portion of baby holding, so I'm probably going to call it after this. I'll finish the conversation tomorrow. So in the last episode, we finished with where we kind of realised, well, we're pretty much at to date, Carter's been running the shop and doing a great job, and I've not really been needed in the business. And it was a few weeks back, maybe about a month or so ago. I was talking with Beck about the plans and where things are headed and what we're doing, and kind of where we want to take the business. And the words just kind of fell out of my mouth where I just said, I was like, babe, I don't think I'm going to go back to the shop. And I caught myself off guard because I'm like, I'm 31, and that was a surreal moment to go, I don't think I'm actually going to go back into the business anymore. And it was humbling, and it was really odd to be able to get to that point so soon, and it's like, as you've heard this whole journey along, right? It's like we've got so many things wrong, but it's just like crunch, it's like gears trying to fit, and they just don't. And they crunch, 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 and then they just go clink, and it just started going, and things were starting to work smooth, and it was just this really cool moment where we kind of had to pinch ourselves and be like, as if, and one thing I believe for the most part, when people describe freedom, they actually mean liberty. And because freedom actually requires a lot of discipline. Liberty just means that you get to do what you want. Those are my separations and the definitions there. And so what I've got right now is I've got a lot of liberty, and I've taken a lot of time off, especially over the, for 10 days prior to the birth. Beck went 8 days over. She needed a lot of help. Like, let's be honest, you're a very, very pregnant woman with 3 other young kids, and it would be callous for me to just be like, oh, well, that's your responsibility, like traditional values and shit. Like, no, like, I'm going to support my wife. So, I took the 10 days off prior, which was, so I wasn't already working in the business, but I was working on the business very, very actively, like, implementing menu changes and, like building some systems out and testing new software and migrating onto that and moving the banks and like all this back end stuff that has meaningful change on the long term. And, so I was doing all this sort of stuff for the weeks leading up, and then the 10 days prior, I was like, I'm just going to focus predominantly. I'll do the work in between where I could, but predominantly my focus is on being home and serving Beck and looking after the kids and really just being there for her. And it was great. I loved it, and really today, so Sterling's now just over 2 weeks. So yesterday he was just 1 day over 2 weeks. And, and I've just taken that entire time off where I've been able to be totally present with Beck, and, having my mum here as well was a massive, massive blessing. She stayed with us when we were, during the birth and all that sort of stuff. Actually, I'll talk about the birth because she home birthed. I'll do that on the next episode. That was a whole thing, man. That was so cool. I'm actually just going to make note of that so I don't forget. So here we are, and we're at this point where all of a sudden it's kind of crept up on us where I've just gone, right, like the things I know I'm learning and I'm not learning how to make coffees anymore. I'm not learning how to systemize stuff. Like, I'm realizing that, our team are changing our workflow in the, not necessarily with the coffees per se, because that's pretty tight, But with a lot of the other things we're doing, like, making the food and all this sort of stuff, like, they're making changes and it's improvements. It's not, and they're doing such a good job. And that's where I'm like, I need to get out of the way and stay out of the way. And then my job is to like, is to go, and this is the thing I'm kind of struggling with at the moment, is going, how do I get very, very, very clear on where we're headed as a business? Then set the targets and the KPIs. And when I say like the KPIs, it's not just arbitrary goals. These are the meaningful things that we need to do to be able to drive revenue and the outcome we want. And then how do I tie that down through the entire team? Because we've got people that work, 7 days a week. Or not 7 days a week, sorry, that's stupid. We've got people who work, full time and they work like absolute machines. But then we've also got people that literally do just like 1 day a week, maybe 2. And how do you highlight to that person who only does like, say 6 hours a week, that their impact to the whole team is actually meaningful? How do I show the importance to someone of the knock-on effect of having a clean like work area and a clean like kitchen? Like how do I emphasize that in a way that they understand and that resonates with them and there's some sort of meaning? Like, I don't know. That's the thing that I'm gonna unpack, and there's a guy that I'm more than likely gonna work with over the next few months to really dive into that. But there's a few things we just need to get our ducks in a row with before we pull the trigger on that. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of where that's at, and I'm realizing that, if I really want to drive the organizational change that I want to make, and I really want to be able to serve our team as best I really genuinely possibly can, that I need to be working on the business and I need to be not working in the business every single day, and I'm conscious of that. So yeah. So I've not been in the business, and I'll be honest, for the last month, I'm starting to get pretty itchy. Like, it's just gone 2 weeks. There was 10 days prior, and I'm starting to get really itchy where I'm just like, I need to be doing something again. And yeah, and I remember, I get all these great ideas, amazing ideas. And I remember one of the best pieces of advice I heard anyone say. He was like, if you have an entrepreneurial mind, or if you're a business owner and you get this really, really, really great idea, and you're already in business and you get this incredible idea, take a strong sedative and hope that it goes away. and shiny object syndrome is definitely a thing. And so, I'll have conversations with other people, and I was saying to Beck the other day, I was like, man, like, propaganda's fun and all, and it's great, but fuck it, let's just go by the prospector. And I don't doubt this is the thing, is I don't doubt my ability to be able to pull something like that off. But I also know that it's like, we're starting from scratch again. We built the foundations for, here we are in 3 years. We started a hole in the wall. Then we might as well have just started a new cafe. So we started the cafe, and then we went and we started a drive-through. So we've started 3 businesses in 3 years, all of which were headed on good trajectories. The cafe was nearly a proven model. Like, it was pretty much, it was making money by way of cash flow. And then the other 2, that they were proven models that worked really well. And we were just going like, dude, like, going back to the start again. At least I get it. I understand it. I know how to do the iteration cycle really, really quick now. And I know what to ignore. I know what to put your attention on, and what really drives meaningful change in the early days. Like, I get all those things now. But yeah, it's going now. Now we're past the sprint phase, and now we're in the marathon. And I think one thing I take a bit of pride in is being able to identify that and know that that's the season we're in. We're not in the disruptive phase anymore. No, like now we're in the, well, at least on a micro level. Maybe in a macro level that might be different, because I do believe there's a level of disruption required. But on the micro level, we're a lot more established now. You know, we're 3 years in, the brand's pretty established, and all these. So I just thought of another thing to mention later. Yeah, and it feels good. You know, we're at a position where, you know, our business model is working, things are ticking along. We've got a pretty established clientele base, and this is really exciting. Actually, one of our girls she's worked with us for the last 9 months. She finished with us 3 days ago, and she is now on. Oh, so tomorrow's the 28th. There you go. So she starts her own coffee business in the next few days. And this is the really cool part, is that it's like, okay, we've built this foundation, we built this like really great business, and it's doing well, and the trajectory is really great, and it's amazing, and all these sorts of things. And then I've never wanted to try and gatekeep people. I'm not blind to the fact that hospitality is a transient industry, especially in WA, and especially in Kalgoorlie in WA. Is that it's a transient industry, so I've embraced that, and I wanted to build training processes and modules and all these sorts of things that upskill people fast, so that we're happy to let them go. Like I'm not trying to clutch at you and say, stay with me longer. No, like I want these people to go and spread their own wings and do their own thing. And so it was a few months back, probably about 6 months back, where Holly is her name. She's about to start Osmo Espresso, and you know, and she was like, oh, you know, we're thinking about doing like a van, and her and her partner, they're stupid not to. Like, you know, they're great hospitality professionals, and we were thinking about doing a van, and I was like, okay, and I kind of had this choice. Like it was a bit of a pivotal moment, because I had this choice then and there whether I would try and be competitive or collaborative, and I chose to be collaborative, and I said to her, I was like, okay, like let's catch up. If you're going to start a business, let's catch up. And I went around to her place, and for a few hours, it must have been about 2 hours, maybe longer, maybe 3, I don't know. And I just was like, you know, tell me about what you want to do. And she started, you know, telling us this vision that they've got, and you know, and for the most part, really, it's, and I feel like everybody starts this way, and myself included, is very much this. You've got this idea of something you want to do, and it's exciting because it's yours, and there's really not much more purpose past that. What I didn't realize for us, where propaganda was the start, was our purpose. You know, now I realize how much power we've got to really influence people, and influence a collective of people every single day. Like, you know, we've got so much power because we're the point of contact that people start their day with. Like, what an empowering and powerful position to hold in the community, and realizing that, you know, we love this connection we built with people, and we've got the capacity to be able to really grow and build people up and build relationship and glue and bind people together in the community. You know, and so that's from a customer standpoint, that's the thing. For us, what I really love, and what I want propaganda to become, is a place where we're able to build leaders, where they know how to lead, and they know how to manage, and they know how to to develop themselves and develop the people around them to go on and flourish past us. You know, and as long as people stay with us, I'll continue to invest and continue to pour into them, and I want to see them develop and grow. But I don't want them to stay with us, unless, if that's what they're happy with, great. But I want to see people go beyond us. And this is where Holly's at already. Like, she was already going to go do her own thing, man. Like, I just had the privilege of working with her, and it's really cool to be in this position, where I was able to go like, hey, here's what I know, here's what I do not know, but here's some great resources. You know, I gave her these books, and God, she's so diligent. My goodness, she is so diligent and so intentional. And I gave her these books, and she's the only person who I gave her the books. She was going away for like 2 weeks or something, or a week or whatever it was. I gave her these books. She came, she read the books while she was away, and then came back and gave them back to me. Like, what? That just doesn't happen, So talk about like trustworthiness and integrity, man. Absolutely, she's a legend. So I have no doubt that they will thrive. Her and her partner are definitely going to thrive. They'll thrive so well, and and I'm interested to see how it impacts our business. And this is the part that part that in my gut I'm like, oh, is that her and her partner, she started working with us not long after they got to town. So a lot of her network that she's developed in town has been through the coffee shop. So through our business. So I'm conscious that there's going to have an impact to it. But I do also recall when I was first going around and raising money to start propaganda, there was this one particular guy, and I went and I met with him, and I just said, I was like, hey mate, like, I gave him the proposal, and he was so great, and he just said to me, he's like, listen, it's not my thing, but I would like to talk with you. I was like, I'm all ears, hit me. And he shared his journey, and he was talking about how in his industry, the industry was really, really siloed, really separate. People weren't talking to each other, and he made a really this guy's really charismatic. He made a really intentional effort to unify the industry in the goldfields, and now it's a really, really collaborative industry. And and so when I started propaganda, I think had I not had that, I probably would have had a little bit of a competitive mindset negatively. But his insights and his input and what he shared with us really changed that for me. So I'd say of everybody in town, there's probably only one person in the cafe coffee space who I don't have a really good relationship with. And not to say, not for any particular reason, there's no animosity there or anything like that. It's just like, it hasn't been a thing. And whereas everyone else, it's great conversation. Like people will start, and like, there's this one guy, Brindy, love him, he's such a legend. And and our kids do gymnastics together, and so we're often talking business together. And I'm not gatekeeping stuff. Hey, yeah, how's things going? Well, this fucked me off. Yeah, same. And this guy, that guy, same. Yeah, what about this? Man, I'm feeling the same thing you are. Like, yeah, I'm feeling the slump. Oh yeah, we're picking up. You too, same. It's like, and I think that's really important to have this collaborative approach. So it was a real challenge though, knowing that that Holly starting is going to have a direct impact on our business, and but still towing the line, and tomorrow, her first day, she's open at 4:30, and I can't wait to be the first customer, and I'm really, really looking forward to supporting her in her journey as well. And I just believe, man, rising tides lifts all ships. I believe that through and through. And, and I mean, and the location that we've got, like her quality and her partner's professionalism, they are hospitality professionals. They will excel. But also, like, I know that our premises that we have it's a moat, and it's a very, like, we're very well insulated. So I don't need to be so concerned. Like, we've made good business decisions to get us to a point that we can then be generous as well. And that is really, really great. And I love that. And not to say that you're not generous prior to that, right? That's not the thing. You don't wait to be in a point where you can be generous to be generous. That's not the point. It's definitely, and again, like I said earlier in one of the episodes, is that knowing that by being generous, it comes back to you, gives you the confidence to be generous, knowing it's not going to be at your expense. That, to me, is the lesson. Is that it's not, I need to make all this money and hoard all this stuff to then be generous. No, like you by being generous, it comes back to you and you can be generous again. Like, it's really great. So, yeah, in this instance, very much so again, like Holly's starting a business and I didn't gatekeep anything. And I hope it doesn't bite me in the ass. I don't think it will, but yeah, we'll see. So Yeah. So it's cool. It's cool to be at this point where the business for the most part is established. There's so many areas of improvement that need to be made. Um, and again, for the most, like now I'm learning how to, like, what does it mean to be an organizational leader? I was actually asked about a couple of weeks back by the city of Kalgoorlie Boulder. They asked me to come and do a presentation on leadership. That was funny how that worked out. So one of the girls who used to work with us, she took a job at the city, and she said to me, she was like, "Oh, hey Billy, do you?" Because I've got quite a broad network. And she said to me, she was like, "Oh, we're wanting to do a workshop for business owners in town around leadership. Is there anyone you recommend?" And I straight out was like, "Hey, listen, there's no one I would get to present to others to teach on leadership in Kalgoorlie. Not to say there's not people there, they're just not in my network. There are great leaders in my network, not people who would necessarily present and teach information on leadership. And then and I was like, the guys that I would recommend, they're based over, and I've worked with these people, like I'm going to vouch for these people, they're based over east. So you can Zoom them in if you want, or you're going to have to fly them over, and that's tens of thousands. And so so then they flipped it around. I think it was about 24 hours later, and they said to me, like, well, would you be interested in presenting then? And I straight away was like, nope. No way. My gut was like, no, I'm not doing that. And that's when I knew that I should probably do that. So, so really, like, this whole journey around understanding leadership and understanding, you know, business and all these different aspects, that started back when I was operating the loader. When I really, so to me, the pivotal point in my life was when, you know, we kind of had this low resolution vision for what we wanted to do with the business. We'd come back from traveling, had a kid, bought the house, and then I took this job so that we could build a financial foundation to start the business with. And we were there, and I remember I was just so despondent and so disheartened, and I just wasn't happy with the trajectory, with who I was. Very fundamentally, I wasn't happy with who I was and who I was becoming, and the man that I was. And for me, the pivotal point came when I came across 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. And I know I mentioned this in another episode earlier, but I consumed that. God, I can't tell you how many times I listened to that book. And there would be certain chapters that would just resonate with me at the time. And I would just mung that chapter over and 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 over. And I can't tell you how many hours I listened to Jordan Peterson talk about these principles. And that was really the pivotal point when I defined it back to anyone, like, that was the moment. It was at that point where I really started going, okay, this is where I'm going to be headed. And I found a passion for learning again. And I had the fire in my belly to like, there wasn't like the hopelessness anymore. Yeah, it was very like, for me, I kind of felt like I was in this position where I was like, I know where I want to be, I just have no clue how to get there, but it sure as shit isn't where I am. And that was the first point where I really started going, that's where I want to be going. And then I just started learning, and just everything I could, just anything I could. I would just learn, and start understanding how the world worked better, and people and business and finances and history and like all these different sciences and arts and how it all works together. And for about 12 months when I was operating that loader, that's all I did. Like, I loved going to work and I loved being in those loaders because I would just, I'd be in any opportunity that I had, I'd be learning. And it lit a fire in me to learn again. And that was got to be one of the most valuable things and pivotal moments for us. And I say us intentionally because I'm very, very conscious, especially in the dynamic of my relationship with my wife, Beck, is that she follows. Not generally speaking, no, like not she doesn't just follow anyone on a whim. But in our relationship, I lead, she follows, and how I show up and what I do directly impacts how she shows up. And it's just it's just the dynamic of our relationship, and I'm conscious of it. And so there's been a direct correlation to this intentional process of learning and growth, and then her learning and growth as well. Anyway, so that's kind of really where the journey of leadership started. So, for the last 5 years, probably a little bit longer, to then go back and unpack all the things I've been learning with this mindset coach and these business coaches and, all these different people, and then to be able to, like, all the book, because I read a lot of books, and I don't listen to many podcasts, but I read and I listen to a lot of books. And to be able to take all of that and put it in a concept that makes sense and is fluid, at least, was really, really great. And if I could summarize any one particular thing, what I've learned about leadership is this: leadership is the act of people willingly following you, not making people achieve a destination. And there's a very big difference. One is built on trust. The other one is built on tyranny and demand and manipulation and coercion. And, to really get to this point, I started just listening and reading and studying the lives of the greatest leaders throughout all history. And one of my favorites was Genghis Khan. Everyone paints him out to be a barbarian. The man, shockingly incredible. One of the longest lineages past his death in recorded human history, by way of his family being in a position of like a monarchy lasting his lineage past his death. Absolutely phenomenal. And what he did was incredible. And then learning about other leaders who, Napoleon, for instance, I thought Napoleon was incredible, and to find out that he was just an egotistical maniac. And then on the inverse of Genghis Khan, right, of this Napoleon guy, is that Napoleon, like, everything that he lived for and he strived for and everything else, well, not everything, but the vast majority, was gone before he died. And on the inverse, you've got this other guy who his entire family for hundreds of years past his death remained in positions of power in the monarchy, in the upper echelons of society. Incredible. Very, very polarizing. And so to me is understanding, okay, like, people willingly follow other leaders they trust. But the trust in what? And trust is that those people will be able to meet the needs they anticipate meeting. So in some instances, at a very base level, it's a very just meeting your primary needs. Like, I need to be able to get money so I can pay for my house, put food in my mouth, and put clothes on my kids' backs. Just the basic things. Past that, then it's like, okay, well, you actually want to belong to a group of people. Past that, you want purpose, and you want a vision, and so that's kind of where I'm at. Is like those first two primary needs in our team, we've got those nailed. Now I'm trying to work on this next bit. How do I get very clear on a vision that is meaningful, and I've got an idea of roughly where we want to go. I've got a vision for my life, and I understand how propaganda fits into that. But also, I'm a big believer that, as a leader, fundamentally, sets the vision, provides all the resources, removes the roadblocks. Fundamentally, that's it. Those resources are, quality equipment, quality training, great team, great systems, like these sorts of things. And that's the role of the leader. And I feel like I've got the roadblocks moving, the resources meeting, but I'm missing the vision bit. So that's kind of that's kind of the next key focus for me, is learning the skills of how do I get clear on the vision and then let that filter down to the team in a way that's meaningful, and they can understand the impact that they're making on the collective goals that are meaningful too. It's not just like, oh, the goal is to just be rich. Like, fuck that. No one cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about my goals. The most beautiful thing that I learned is that no one gives a shit about me. No one. Nobody cares. Elon Musk, in probably 400 or 500 years, maybe less, maybe 200 years, he will be a footnote in someone's PhD as a student. That's it. What he achieved? Great. It's like John Rockefeller. And even he's only like 200 years ago. So it's just like, what does it matter? All these like grand things that you aspire for and everything else, and these, everyone talks about legacy. What a fucking prank. Legacy. God. This is a great quote by a philosopher about Alexander the Great after he died. And he says, the world was not big enough for Alexander the Great, but in the end a coffin would suffice. And I just think, there's so many things, like we've all got these dreams of grandeur and all these things that we want to do and achieve and be, and and it's just like fuck off. Can you imagine living your whole life fully like, I want to leave this impact, but focusing on leaving an impact strips the present moment away, and in doing so you lose the opportunity to be present and make the most impact right now. And if you continually do that for the rest of your life, well, guess what? You're not going to make impact anyway. And this goes back to the whole letting go thing. What I'm learning to do is let go. And by letting go, I'm actually able to be clear on what needs to happen now. And that's the most important thing. So anyway, so that's loosely what the future looks like. I'm very excited for Holly. I'm still learning about leadership. I'm really wanting to hone in on the skill of being able to clarify vision and communicate that to the team. And truth be told, I love the trajectory we're on. It's exciting. I love what we're doing. I love where we are. I love my wife. I love her. And I love that we're doing this together.